Welcome to the Logistics Point interviews. I'm joined by Sinah Truffat from Swobbee, and we're going to talk about fleets facing the challenges of batteries. Sinah, thank you very much for joining me.
Great to be here. Thank you.
I just mentioned batteries, and what are the main problems that you think fleets and organizations of all sorts in the logistics are facing?
We see there are three main challenges. The first of one being safety concerns. Most of the charging currently happens unmonitored in warehouses. So there are risks stemming from that. If there is a battery that is heating up uncontrolled or has a thermal runaway, in some cases, this is noticed too late when there has already been a fire or worse. Other companies, they are finding different solutions with having employees staying there during the night. That's a very costly countermeasure. But overall, we see that there are a lot of safety concerns, not just from the logistics companies themselves, but also from cities, from insurance companies who no longer want to insure warehouses where lithium-ion batteries are being charged. So this is a really big topic. The other topic are the high upfront investment costs into batteries. Oftentimes, the batteries will make up 40 to 50% of the total cost of a new vehicle. And for many, especially younger logistics companies, this is a really high upfront investment into a nascent market, right? That's also just stabilizing now to make. And that's why we have chosen to offer batteries for rentals in flexible monthly subscriptions, so that this is not a barrier to adopt light electric vehicles. And the last one that I want to state is the high cost of charging operations. So currently you have cargo bikes driving throughout cities, delivering goods, and at some point the range is exhausted. So the vehicle has to go back to a point where it can swap a battery or be plugged in. And these distances tend to be quite long because warehouses are often not in the city centers. So we see that, there is a real need to lower that kind of cost. And we try to support companies in that journey by offering them a network of battery charging and swapping stations in city centers.
And the first thing I want to pick on certainly is the safety bit, which is really important because, as you said, permission is not going to be given by authorities, and companies and consumers would not want to engage if they don't feel it is safe enough. What things can be done from your side, but also on the side of people that are using it, as in cargo bags that you mentioned?
The first part is the choice of battery. So there are many different battery types that you can choose from the cheapest range. So these are batteries that we straightway exclude from our offerings, and which we also don't recommend for any fleet operator or individual to be using. So that's the first, being very clear on your battery audit. The other things that we are doing are station monitoring and battery monitoring. So all the batteries that are being charged in the station are monitored 24/7, taking into account the temperature, taking into account voltage, current, and any incidents or errors that occur in the battery, which we get from the BMS of the battery. Those are all things that help us prevent incidents altogether. And the final part is, okay, when you actually have an incident, you need to be prepared, right? Because it can occur for whatever reason. Like there's always a residual risk, and that we are counterbalancing with safety measures in the actual charge module so that the fire can be contained for several times when it's actually has been occurring.
Can you just walk us through the whole process on onboarding and then the maintenance and the sharing of the battery?
So two options we currently operate. The first one is just battery rentals without the Swobbee station. So say you're a logistics company, you operate in a small town somewhere, there's maybe not enough batteries circulating that would justify one entire Swobbee station. So in that case, we merely offer the battery for rental plus the chargers and any other accessories that you require, like plugs in a rental model. The other model is indeed a larger battery sharing, where we also offer a public network. This is what we're doing in Berlin. Different kinds of logistics companies sign up to the platform and rent a given number of batteries, and then immediately gain access to the network of swapping stations in this area. Currently, we have 8 different battery types available for rental that can also all be charged in the stations. As we look at what are the batteries that are circulating in which areas of town, how many stations do we need, and also what are the utilization patterns. So when do customers come by in the morning? This is all data that we gather to make sure that the driver will always find a full battery. So we are putting an overhead in the stations to make sure there's never not a full battery available.
You mentioned maintenance and production and also lead times, which for electric vehicles, for example, is a problem at the moment. Do you experience the same thing for batteries?
Depends which battery you look at, but especially the LFP batteries that are becoming more and more popular, specific models there that are very well received in the market, like AES batteries, for example, from Akku Energiesysteme. There, we also experience that you have to calculate with sometimes 2 or 3 months of lead time if you place a larger order. So this is something that people need to take into account. But we also try to hold a larger stock of the batteries that we see where the market is going, so that we can deliver. And for our stations, we had some tough times with the supply chain stresses the last few years, and it's still the case that everything that we produce right now goes directly out to the customer. So we have a lead time there also of 2 to 4 months, which is also coming from the location that we need to prepare for the station.
What things do we need to change in the infrastructure, both charging, both wider supply chain, safety, maintenance, and everything to make this as popular as electric vehicles and obviously the diesel and petrol vehicles?
Yeah. So I want to say something that probably everybody will say, which is the battery standardization will lower the cost for everybody, will ensure that we can do reusage and recycling of the materials in a more effective way. But that's kind of a standard answer that I think everybody in the industry has understood, and we're slowly getting there. I think for last mile delivery companies, what I also hear is they need sorting centers. So one thing is, right, they can operate cargo bikes, that's all nice, we can put our stations there, they can charge, but they also need extra space to move the goods from the truck into the cargo bike. And this is something where in city centers we're lacking space. That's one thing I would hope that we could get more access to spaces, and that cities would also more proactively fund that. Some cities are already doing that, like Munich, for example, or Hamburg, but there can be more of that.
And finally, is there a kind of a checklist for companies that want to adopt what you're providing as a service, and also want to make sure that the batteries they're using are as safe as possible? What are steps that you would recommend?
In terms of a checklist, we always ask, of course, which engine are you using? What are your specific requirements? And then we've tried to find the best possible battery that can work for their vehicle and also for their operational model. Other than that, I would recommend sticking with the battery manufacturers that have certified batteries. There are many different standards. UL is one of them. There are different UN standards as well. Other than that, the charging is technically when actually issues occur or when fires occur. So I would recommend having a cabinet that monitors the temperatures, that monitors the voltages as the bare minimum. And then I think if you want to have more data on the battery health, then I would recommend working with companies like us to reap off that data and look at the health of your overall battery population to do predictive maintenance, for instance.
Thank you very much for your time, and for everyone watching, you can learn as usual more information in the description below. Thank you very much.